In this class, we are going to build our own functions. We create a new function using a def keyword followed by the optional parameters in parentheses. We indent the body of the function, which is most important as we discussed what is indentation. This defines the function but does not execute off the body of function. So whenever we define a function, we must call it for that function to work. Definitions and uses. Once we have defined a function, we can call it as many times as we like. This is the store and reuse pattern. So as you can see, we have defined a function and now we are going to call this, and it will give us the output of, you can see on the screen, arguments. An argument is a value that we pass into the function as its input when we call the function. We use functions so we can direct the function to the different kinds of work when we call it at different times. We put the arguments in parentheses after the name of function. Parameters. A parameter is a variable which we use in the function definition. It is a handle that allows the code in the function to access the arguments for a particular function invocation. As you can see, the color of parameter and the variable color, as you can see in this function. So parameter is a variable that we are going to use in the function, and we define that in the function. So make sure to get the proper definitions of argument and parameters. Argument is a value we pass in the function as input value. Parameters are variables. So parameter are variables and arguments are the values we pass into the functions. Return values. Often a function will take its arguments, do some computation and return a value to be used as the value of function, called in the calling expression. The return keyword is used for this. A fruitful function is a function that produces a result or a return value. The return statement ends with the function execution and sends back the result of the function. Thereby it shows the function has ended. So arguments, parameters and returns. Arguments are the actual values that we pass in the definition of a function. Parameters are the variables that are going to use in the definitions of function, and result are the values that our function give us as a result of the function. Multiple parameters / arguments. We can define more than one parameters in a function definition. We simply add more arguments when we call the function. We match the number and order of arguments and parentheses and parameters. Void non-fruitful functions. When a function does not return a value, we call it a void function. Functions that returns values are called fruitful functions, and void functions are not fruitful. To function and not to function. Organize your code into paragraphs. Capture a complete thought and name it. Don't repeat yourself. Make it work once and then you reuse it. If something gets too long or complex, break it up into logical chunks and put those chunks in the functions. Make a library of common stuff that you do over and over. Perhaps share this with your friends. So in the summary, we discussed what is arguments is the actual value. Results are the function that are fruitful function that gives us the output and returns the value. Void are the non-fruitful function which does not return any value. Why use functions? So functions we use for avoiding reusable of code and time, and also most importantly the memory. There are some built-in functions that are integer, float, print, input are the in built-in functions. Parameters, as we discussed, are the actual, you can say, the variables so that we define in the definition of a function, and arguments are the values. Results, as we discussed. So thank you so much for watching.